All right. Hello and welcome. We are back with Time for Fellowship with Andrew and probably a special guest. So today Matt is off. As you guys know, Matt has been traveling quite a bit. If you've been following him on social media, you know he's all over the place. So today he is out at the Scottish Rite. And so I am solo. But the good news is I'm not actually solo, because then I'd torture you guys with some sort of monologue on some theoretical philosophy that I want to talk about. Instead, we have a more fun option in mind, which will be me bringing on a special guest. So today we're going to be bringing on a guest of mine, a friend and someone that I haven't got to talk to in too long, a brother of Lake Lodge, who, after getting his fellowcraft degree through work and probably life in general, a Florida son, ended up moving back to Florida and completing his Master Mason degree in Florida. So we're going to catch up with him and have a great time. And so we'll hit the music and we will introduce our special guest.
Loosen up your ties and roll up your sleeves. It's time for Fellowship with Matt and Andrew. The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are not necessarily the views and opinions of the Grand Lodge of Wisconsin or any other Grand Lodge or any appended body.
All right. So today we are going to be joined by Brother Tyler Mitchell, a member of Lake Lodge and also Winter Park Lodge 239, Florida son who dealt with the snow for long enough. So welcome, Tyler. What's going on?
Another fun-filled day. Thanks for having me, man. And it's honest, I'm back in Florida, but there are times that I do miss the winter up there.
I remember when you first came into our lodge, and it was not long before the first winter had come to siphon your soul, and you were wearing too light of a jacket, and you're like, boys, it gets really cold up here. And we're like, yes, it does. Yes, it does. And we're only just beginning. And you're like, wait, what?
Oh, yeah, and the reverse is true. The one time I think it was like 30 or 40 degrees, and you guys were having a barbecue, and I showed up, and everybody's in shorts and a tank top, and I have a hoodie on, and I was just like, what is going on up here?
We got polar bear blood. It's all them cheese curds. So Brother Tyler ended up joining Masonry in Wisconsin while he was up here for work, even though he's from Florida. And work ended up bringing him back to Florida. So my starting question for you, Tyler, is what brought you into Freemasonry and what keeps you in Freemasonry?
So I've told the story a few times, and I like telling it because it's unique. You know, everybody remembers 2020 during the lockdowns. I played a lot of Call of Duty, more than I cared to admit. And a friend of my brother was a Louisiana Mason, and he had reached out to me on Xbox Live and started talking Masonry with me. And he had mentioned, hey, you'd make a good Mason. And I was like, well, I've always thought about it. And he reached out to someone in the Grand Lodge of Wisconsin. And then by the time I had landed and moved and unpacked, Jeff had reached out to me. And then I was looking at a bunch of different lodges, and I went to Lake. And I just enjoyed the brothers there and wanted to see a little bit more. And especially because I have no family in the Midwest. I'd never been to the Midwest. So I was looking for that like fellowship and brotherhood that I've had in different things in my life. But I always bring it back to, man, I got into Freemasonry through Xbox Live.
How many times did you prestige that year?
Oh, I lost track.
So once you joined Masonry, we went through if my memory serves, which it should, but I was a fairly young Mason when you joined too, man. I think I was a steward, I think, when you were.
I think you were senior steward, because I was thinking about that when you'd asked me about the podcast, like when did I meet? Because I remember Matt was senior deacon at the time, I think.
Yeah, then I definitely would have been senior steward. Yeah, absolutely. So I'd been a Mason for like a year, like 2 years maybe. And yeah, I have a distinct memory of us celebrating after your entered apprentice over at Scotty's when we used to go across the street to the bar afterwards. But yeah, that was one of the earlier degrees that I did, was one of yours in my young Masonic journey. What would you say the difference was transitioning from a fellow craft in Wisconsin Masonry to completing your Masonic journey in Florida?
So, the fun part was when I got to Florida, I tried to take the same tact I had in Wisconsin. I visited a bunch of the lodges in the 16th district, and went to a couple dinners, got to meet the brothers, and I ultimately settled at Winter Park and kind of connected with some of the brothers there because it was a similar feeling to what Lake was. So you know how that process goes. You request courtesy work, it goes through the grand jurisdictions, and then eventually comes back after a certain amount of time, usually a little longer. But when we were going through the degrees and everything, I started noticing like little things that are kind of variations between the two jurisdictions. And, we were talking about it earlier with seeing it at like cave degree and some of these other interjurisdictional degrees where you can see different states put on what they're proud of, and you notice little things, and that's half the fun of it. So when I originally went through, I was like, whoa, my instructor said X, Y, and this is what I'm seeing here. So I had a million questions when I finally finished it, and then have to go back and relearn everything in Florida style.
Yeah, right. You're like, I just learned these obligations, man. Like, what the heck? I have to go from F and AM to AF and AM?
Instead of 3, it was 5.
So within that, what I've always been curious about was, so like in Wisconsin, right? You were just explaining you were up here, you're in the middle of the Midwest. You're out here on your own. It's a perfect opportunity. Like, one of the biggest selling points of fraternity is like, dude, I'm away from home. I need to meet some people, man. Like, I don't want to just be out here in the Midwest doing nothing. But moving back to your home turf, or home-ish turf. I mean, the state's a big place, right? But,
yeah.
The land of your upbringing, what kept you in Masonry once you got your Master Mason degree? I mean, now we are, God, what, 6 years later?
Yeah, about that. Because I was raised in 2022.
Yep.
And we're in 2026 now. And now I'm getting gray in my beard, which makes me feel older thinking about all this.
Well, and there was some latency too, since you're entered apprentice and fellowcraft before you could settle down in a lodge, get both grand jurisdictions to figure out their lives, because that's always a time-consuming process. Being like, "Who's this guy?" And they're like, "He's a guy from Wisconsin. He moved to your area. Can you do courtesy work?" And they're like, "What?" And you're like, "Okay, old man, like, we're working it out." Like, so I remember when you were going through that, because you were texting me and texting Matt and trying to figure out, like, hey, like, we're trying to get the Grand Lodges to communicate
this
together,
process, right? And that letter and
yeah, all the bureaucracy between the two. So I mean, theoretically, like, even before raising, you were what, 2021 was when you were initiated, probably 2022,
roughly. Because I had to be in Florida for a year before I could proceed. So, yeah, I think it was 2021. Like, but I had moved down, I think, the November, December of... No, that doesn't make sense. I have to go back and look. But I think it's somewhere around 2020, 2021, like early in that little gray area.
Yeah, so even though you were a master for 4 years, you've been in Masonry as a brother for like 5.5 years.
Yeah.
Well, working through the bureaucracy of finalizing your Master Mason degree in Florida, which honestly is kind of I feel like when at the time I remember thinking about it, I was like, dude, that's kind of the best way to do it, because you have to leave your mother lodge and you want to build connections with a new, like a secondary mother lodge. Having them complete your work kind of bonds you, right? Like, it seals you in so that you have feet in two worlds now in Masonry, which is great. But what's kept you? What's kept you all these extra years in the fraternity?
It was the fellowship, man. I mean, I've got friends, and I'd consider pretty much everybody that's this close to me now in Masonry as family. I mean, you, Matt, Jeff, Mike, a bunch of the brothers up in Wisconsin. And I mean, you can even go to Georgia, like Zach Causeway. Like, me and him are really close as well. And then out west in Texas and New Mexico, I just meet brothers all over the place. And it's the little things that you share when you're in the middle of fellowship that really brings it home to what the spirit of Masonry is. And then you kind of dig a little deeper into the fellowship and you notice, I'm becoming a better person by interacting with these brothers from all walks of life, and just see that it all kind of meshes together. And that's what kind of has kept me going. And it's ridiculous how it all kind of comes back together.
Well, and think about this, the fact that on a Monday, Matt texts me, "Oh, shoot, I forgot I'm going to Scottish Rite. You need to find a guest somewhere." And I go, yeah. Then you text me about something random with a dues card that you're working on with our secretary. So I text him, I go, "Ooh, you know what? I have a friend in Florida that I haven't talked to in a handful of years. Let me harass him to get on the podcast." You know what I mean? That is kind of emblematic of the beauty of Freemasonry when you think about this interstate like friendships that you make that you're like, oh, I know a guy down there. Let me shoot him a text and see if he wants to talk with me for a little bit or hang out. And especially when you're traveling, you go down to a state and you're like, oh, you know what? I know a couple guys from around here. Minimum, let me text them for some advice and stuff like that. Like, it's crazy. The mystic tie.
It's wild.
So what would you say now, back in the day when you were just joining Winter Park, you had finally completed your MM. I remember talking to you and you were texting me, be like, oh man, these boys remind me so much of Lake Lodge. Like, they're hustling, they're bustling, they're doing their thing. I was like, oh, hell yeah. Like, right away, I was like, perfect. Because we were worried about you. We were like, oh man, I hope he finds a good lodge. Like, we don't got any inroads. We don't know the lay of the land. Like, I hope our little baby boy finds his feet down, well, in your home state, but you know what I mean? Finds your Masonic feet under you, right? How would you describe the culture of your lodge?
So it's interesting because there's a lot of lodges in the district that encompass it, but I think that Winter Park really kind of shows off. Winter Park's known for the attention to detail and its ritual work, as well as what it does for the community and the caliber of brothers that it brings through, and even the social aspects. So, and then like you nailed it on the head earlier. It's like, when I came down here, I was looking for something that I had in Wisconsin, and I think it was the second lodge I visited. It just kind of hammered home. It was wild. And now you fast forward to, now like modern day, I would have never thought that I'd be practicing. I'd be a senior steward going into junior deacon next year going like, oh my God.
Hey, wait, where are you moving into?
I'm a senior steward and potentially moving to junior deacon next year.
Junior deacon is a lot of fun, man. You got to just embrace that. That's what, to be fair, junior deacon is fun and senior deacon is like the best. Like, as someone who has to panic practice tonight for conferring a fellowcraft degree tomorrow because I missed practice because I was in Door County. And so I appointed Matt as my degree excellence coach. So within his committee's duties, I said, hey, man, I'm out of town, but these boys need some practice. So now you need to lead them in my stead, even though I'm conferring. And then I have to go and, I was studying last night until, I got done doing some lodge work, like emails and stuff, until like 11 p.m. Then I went, well, God, I got to make sure I'm sharp on my stuff. Practiced my work, the front half of the degree, till like 12:30 a.m. And then I thought to myself, I haven't had any TV time. Sat down and watched Vox Machina until 1 a.m. and then went to bed. Now today I have to start again. Conferring a degree is fun because like the show moves around you, but I will argue there is nothing more fun than when you sneak up to those deacon chairs. The junior deacon is like the intro to speaking. The senior deacon is involved in every single part of the whole ceremony in a unique way, and there's a bond that's created. Like, you're going to have fun with these chairs. It's intimidating to start doing speaking, but they're very fun, and they're not excessively hard. They're just a great way to get involved. I think you're going to love it.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I mean, I've been doing the junior deacon now for 6-7 months, like in and out and practicing it. I think I've got to do it twice. And last time we were practicing, I was like, hey, I want to try something else. And I hopped into a warden chair. Oh. And I had to like stop and think a handful of times, but I had a good handle on it.
I mean, and it is one of those things that within Masonry, all this stuff are like little building blocks too. Like, you don't realize what's happening to you till you're in the next chair and you're like, oh, I kind of know this stuff. You're like, yeah, you've watched it enough times. And then you notice where in degrees your spot might interact with another. And so by proxy, by studying one part, you're kind of shadowing the other part because it involves you. And so you find that like as it continues to go, for some reason, the parts get harder, but the process of learning it gets easier, which is kind of hard to explain, but it makes sense when you go through it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it very much is a building block. And I remember Matt telling me that when we were going through the beginning of it, that a lot of the stuff in Masonry builds off of itself. And if you know one part, then you have a better chance of understanding the next part.
Oh, yeah. And then by the time you get up to doing conferrals, you're like, so when I was a junior warden at Lake, the way we work it is the junior warden will traditionally do confer the entered apprentice degree. The senior warden in our lodge will confer the fellowcraft, and the master will confer the MMs. It's a way to divide the work, and it's also a way to prepare people so you don't just become master and have to start conferring 3 degrees at a time, right?
Winter Park's same way.
Yep, and it's great because I remember when I was a junior warden, and they're like, hey, just a heads up. And I've done this to Matt every single year when he was ahead of me in line, and he goes, you're doing that degree in like a month. He's like, we get installed, and we always had a degree looming. And I was like, hey, man, I'm not ready for the first one, but I'll have the second one. Because it just like appears in front of you. And he's like, fine. I did that, including this year as Worshipful Master. This year, the moment I was installed, the district reached out asking us for a team for Day of Light to do it in front of, I don't know, a couple hundred people for a one-day class. And I was like, hey, Matt, I am not doing my first MM for 200 people. You are, because we're going to go back to our old team that's actually polished instead of me trying to scramble in 4 weeks or 3 weeks to build a new team with me doing it. But then the day after, or 2 days or 3 days after the Day of Light, Ozaki Lodge had reached out for some help for doing an MM degree, and they needed a big cast. So I said, I'll confer that one for Ozaki Lodge. When I found out, it was not 1 degree, 'twas 2. And I didn't find out till I got on site. Maybe it was explained to me and I forgot. I don't think so. And so when I got there's 2 candidates. And so my trial by fire this year was having to do 2 back-to-back conferrals within a first month of being a master of the lodge. So I got my comeuppance, but when you're sitting there on the first time you do a conferral, like I was at junior warden, you're so intimidated because it's such a big part, right? You're like, oh my God, this is a big part. But the hardest part for me was actually just getting started reading it, because the moment you start to read it, you actually notice the building blocks were there. You're like, oh, I remember this. Oh, I remember that. Mm-hmm. Oh, I could polish this a little bit, but I'm familiar. And so it's funny that you don't even notice how you are learning the entire time.
Well, and also the other part, and I'll tie it back to the whole fellowship thing. Like, once you realize that you're in a room full of brothers that genuinely want to see you succeed, it takes a lot of that stigma of, oh, I'm going to mess up out of it. You can slow down. Because, I mean, 2 years ago, I was called to do part of the degree team for the Cave in Tennessee when Matt came. And I was the Tyler for that. And I have very few talking points. But, I mean, you're talking 400 or 500 people in a cave underground. I was shaking the whole time.
Yeah, not only because it was cold.
It's like 50 degrees. So, like, all the guys from Florida never went up are like, it's cold. I'm in a hoodie. I'm like, I'm fine.
Just like you were in Wisconsin at the cookout in 50-degree weather.
It never changes.
So, what would you say you've noticed the difference is between the culture of Wisconsin Freemasonry versus Florida Freemasonry? Have you noticed any differences? I mean, your time in the Wisconsin jurisdiction was only a couple of years, so you have way more under your belt in Florida Masonry at this point. But have you noticed any distinctions between the cultures of Masons in general in either state?
I mean, for the most part, it's very similar. You know, and we talk about the interjurisdictional stuff, but the majority of the differences I've seen are from states in like New England to, you know, far out west. But I mean, as far as the culture goes, you know, I do know Wisconsins do enjoy a good drink. Florida's the same way. Just, we don't have to put on a lot of jackets for it. But it's that dedication to excellence that I saw in Wisconsin that I share here in Florida, is the care for the work and the care for the brothers coming in, as well as the candidates, and really kind of getting to know the people that you might call brother one day. And that's part of the reason why I've stayed in, specifically in Florida, and kind of seen that, hey, this whole Freemason journey is just getting started. And it's just feels like home. I always miss Lake Lodge, but it's, you know, got that homey feel to it.
Heck yeah. I mean, honestly, kind of the ideal situation, right? You're a sojourning salesman, more or less. Do you know what I mean? Up in the middle of the cold north, going from the southernest, well, one of the southernest points of the United States, going to within the top 3, or well, sorry, top 5 probably, I forgot about Alaska, of the northernest, right, states. And, you know, we always talk about how, we're traveling men, right? I do feel like people who travel for work or salesmen or whatever, project managers who travel for work, get a very unique view on the beauty of Freemasonry as a traveling person from place
100%.
to place. Like my buddy Dave Vargas, he travels a lot for work, but he'll usually make a point of trying to find some sort of Masonic experience on his travels. So if he's out in, Virginia, he's always at some lodge between his, the work he's down there to do when he's doing seminars. And I'm always envious because I go, man, there's nothing that shows the beauty of Freemasonry more than when not only do you have the beauty of traveling, but as a person who travels, and you were doing that quite a bit back that day, to be able to pop in anywhere in the country and go, hi, brother.
I still do that, even when I'm on vacation. Like, every August I take the bike up to Cave, but I always take a different path. So depending on what state I'm going to, I try and find some lodge along the way to kind of see. I got a habit of taking pictures in front of lodges and tagging them on Facebook. Not just in Florida, but I'll do it anywhere I'm at. Like I got a chance to go visit family in Texas, and I saw the Army Lodge in San Antonio, and I was kicking myself because I missed their meeting day by like one day.
Oh, no. So outside of doing the Tennessee, well, actually, you know what? Let's start with the Tennessee Cave degree because we had Matt do an entire lengthy episode. As far as travel goes, I know you've gone to the Cave degree, I think more than once or just once?
I go every year. And that's a funny story how that even started.
Do tell. Send her.
So my mentor down here, so Matt, I'll always contribute. Matt is like my main teacher for Masonry in general. But I met another brother down here, Preston, and he was talking once I got raised. He's like, hey, so you got raised just in time to go to what we call Cave degree. And I was like, oh, what's that? And he goes, oh, it's up in Tennessee. I was like, well, if I have time, I'll go. And he goes, well, it's in Kingston, Tennessee. And I froze. And I look at him and I go, how do you know about Kingston? He's like, we do this every year. It's been going on for about 100 years or more. How do you know about it? I was like, my stepdad's from there. My family lives in Kingston. Like, I didn't think anybody knows where that was at. And I was like, make it even better. It happens on my birthday week. So Preston looks at me. He goes, you know what this means, right? And I was like, what? He goes, you can never miss a Cave degree, especially when your family knows that you're going to be up here around that time.
Oh, you're locked in, dude. You're locked in.
I've already got my mom going like, oh, are you going to swing by?
Yep. And you're like, well, honestly, a perfect situation.
Yeah.
So what would you say you've enjoyed the most about your Cave degree pilgrimages?
So when you first go up there and go in and see the lodge, most Masons love history. I've yet to meet a Mason that doesn't like history, whether it be Masonic, American, or worldly. And when you get to walk around that lodge and you see the history of how long it's been there and some of the parts of United States history that it's been involved in, it's wild. And then, the first day is sign-in, second day is more kind of hanging out and getting ready to actually for the main event. But meeting people from all over walks of life. And, I like my motorcycle, so I meet a lot of Masonic riders up there. And just hearing what they deal with in their state versus, what they deal with here. And then just hearing the journey of them getting there. Some of the stuff they've seen along the way, some of the buildings they've seen. One of my favorite reactions is when someone's going through Atlanta and passes the Scottish Rite building off of I-75. That building is insane. Yeah.
I think, what I'm envious on motorcycles, besides my general fear of riding one, is I feel like motorcycle riding, since you have to stop more to rest your butt, you stop in more places to see more things than a person in their car. A person in their car, I feel like, I've driven to Arizona, I've driven to New Jersey. You just tank it, right? You just go, I can sit here forever. I feel like the requirement on a motorcycle to deal with the stiffness and discomfort of your body requires you to plan more stops to see more things, which is emblematic of, the journey before destination for all the Brandon Sanderson fans out there. Like that it's not about where you're going, it's about the ride there. Is something I've always found fascinating and probably, super fun about riding in general.
Yeah, and it's something that you got to work on to get that endurance. The first time I did that ride to Cave was probably one of the longest runs I had done. And we got to a Buc-ee's. I think it was in the first one in Georgia. And I got off the bike and it was so hot. I laid on my back and opened the ice cooler. And I'm just sitting here trying to cool off because it's 100 degrees. And here is a 16th district staple, Mr. Johnny Brock himself walks up, and he's a widow's son. He just looks down at me and he's like, "You all right?" "I will be. Give me a few minutes."
Well, and what's funny with all these rider organizations is the age gap between riders can make things more complicated, right? So, or just the level of, what do they call it? Iron ass of different people. So Matt was telling me on one of their more recent rides, they were out and they had a handful of new or members of their organization going with them. And so Matt and Jeff have iron asses, is what I've been told. They can just sit on that bike and just ride into the sunset. But not everybody in that crew can do that without their legs going numb. So they start signaling like, "Boys, we got to get off. We got to get off. We got to get off. Because I got to move some blood through these things or I don't know if I'll ever walk again." So it's interesting.
Yeah, it takes years to build up that tolerance. I mean, if you look at it too, actually, at our Grand Lodge, there's a brother that talked me into starting to write my first Masonic research paper. And I'm currently in the middle of trying to write one. I'm writing two, technically. One on the organizational structure for Masonic motorcycle riding associations versus traditional Freemasonry and motorcycle culture. And the other one it's like an esoteric deep dive into the thought processes while you're riding and how it can be a spiritual experience.
All right, well, let's go down that rabbit hole. Let's talk through the esoteric paper. Now, you don't have to read your paper. Let's talk through the concept. We're going down the hodag hole, as we've been calling it, since we had our good friend Max from Rhinelander come on and talk to us about the Wisconsin cryptid, the hodag. We've been calling our rabbit holes hodag holes because it's cooler and it's more rock and roll. So can you tell me more about the concept behind the spiritual experience of riding?
So, you know how when everybody's got something that they do to kind of unwind or unplug.
Sure.
And whether it be golfers out on a course or painting or wood carving or, any kind of thing that plugs you out of your normal daily life. And I started noticing that guys that were riding, "Hey, I had a bad day, I'm going for a ride." Or, "Hey, I had a great day, I'm going for a ride." And starting to look into that, and then also looking at the spiritualist side of kind of getting into that meditative state where you're fully functioning and you're able to do anything and respond, but your state of consciousness is at such a calm level that you may or may not even know that you're responding, where you're focused on something else. And within riding, you got guys that are on crotch rockets and speed bikes that'll go up to 120 miles an hour, and to them they'll have like tunnel vision, where the only thing that they notice is in front of them, where they're so dialed in between their mind and spirit that everything's in unison and going forward. But for guys on Harleys like myself, for me, it's about the distance. I have no problems now going from here to, Tennessee in a day. I want to go even further. I've told Matt in the past, I want to go out to Sturgis. And a lot of the guys around here are like, "Well, I want a trailer." It's like, not me. If I can ride for 3 days and take little breaks here along the way, I can get that, me and God time, but behind the handlebars. And even when I'm stopping to kind of take a break, it allows you to kind of deep dive into what's going on in your day-to-day life. So, you spend that 2-3 hours on the bike, finally about run out of gas, and you go to pump, you're not thinking about, "Oh, my job sucks," or, "Oh, I got this going on at home." It's more, you're reminiscing on stuff in the past, and you're really trying to understand what's going on in that day-to-day life. And if you look at esoteric alchemy, where they talk about the perfection of the Philosopher's Stone, but not as a physical object, but as a state of being, you can see the journey that a rider takes from when they first fire up the bike to where they're an iron butt, where they can go for 1,000 miles.
Yeah. Well, and what's fascinating with that too is, there's a couple of things working in your favor. First off, the hypnotic aspect of riding or driving. Everyone's had that thing where you drive long enough and your brain in the moment is still being present, but it's decided to stop recording. It goes,
"Yeah,
you know what? I don't need to save this." You can kind of just be in the moment. But when it comes to meditation, the whole point is a single pointed focus, right?
Yeah.
When you're on a motorcycle, you can't sit back like in a car and put cruise control and just go, "I'm just going to kind of vibe." You have to have an element of focus. to be safe, right? So in a way that's immediately meditative because you have to be engaged, but also you're going for hours. So to a certain extent, you're engaged and disengaged, which is meditation, right? And when you look at that, when you're doing those long stints, are you listening to music or no music?
So, unlike most riders, I don't have a sound system on my bike. I have tried and it has failed, and now I've given up. So, I have my headset in my helmet and I'll put music on, but it depends on the mood that I'm on, that what kind of genre I'm listening to. Because sometimes it's like old 70s music, other times it's modern metal.
Sure.
And I hate to admit it, but there's also days that I'll put Nightcore on. Yeah.
Well, what's crazy is, so I've been experimenting with as somebody who's been driving, not riding, but I've always listened to something in the car, right? It's either radio. I'm never sitting in my car in silent because that's crazy. But I was listening to a guy the other day talking about how maybe once a week or once in a while, for that 45-minute ride home, let it sit in silence. So I don't think listening to music stops your brain from reminiscing or from wandering or from thinking similar things you're saying, me and God time where my mind is elsewhere, because music's not overly distracting, especially when you're used to it. But I found that, about once a week or, maybe a couple times a month, I will do the ride home with radio silence. And it's kind of like that moment where you're in the shower and you're washing your hair and you're just in silence. Your brain goes, remember that embarrassing thing you did in high school? And you're like, you piece of shit. Shut the hell up. What the heck? I'm just trying to take a shower. But to the extreme where you let your mind just expand, right? And so I've been finding it interesting, too, with that travel time, allowing the mind to have just time to just be like, well, there's nothing to do but drive. And in the silence, let it wander and take you on weaving journeys. It's almost like when Matt's talked a couple of times on the podcast about when he's hunting. Can't listen to music. He's just sitting there. He's looking. He has to be present enough not to miss any game coming by, but it's quiet time. And I think that as a society, we've lost quiet time, and we've lost the ability to have solo, one-focused time, whether it's reading books, sitting on a motorcycle, sitting in a blind, or any of those. Like we were talking about the podcast, working on leather work. You know why I like crafts? Because I'm sitting out there and, maybe I'm making a walking stick, right? I found a particularly beautiful branch that I go, this belongs as a walking stick. But in that time where I'm shaving it, working it, I'm focused on one thing. It's quiet. It's attention focusing. And that is there's a spirituality to that. It's a silent time. And I think there's a lot to be gained from that in modern society that's so instantly gratifying at all times that we lose in the modern era.
Oh, 100%. And you can see it within the generations that are coming up. Because, from one of the most connected generations, which, funny enough, also was able to deal with the life before connectivity. Gen Z is one of the most connected generations on the planet, yet they're going back to reading the Bible. They're getting very conservative. They're doing things that, generations right before, the younger millennials were not doing at their age. And it's something that I've started noticing that's wild.
It's that pendulum. You know what I mean? Everyone's rebelling against the generation before them. So as one generation goes one way, the other one goes, well, I ain't going to do it like them. I'm going to do it like this. And then it goes the other way. Then they have kids, and the kids go, well, I ain't doing it like that. I'm a genius. I'm going to do it like this. And every generation, we just swing. Everyone's rebelling against their parents for some reason. We just keep going back and forth.
We're starting to see them come into Masonry, too. And there's a brother at Winter Park that I always rag on because I was the youngest Mason for the longest time in that lodge. So every once in a while, we'd all be hanging out, and I'd be like, yeah, boys, it's real hard being born in 1993, and you can just hear the groans all the way around the room. And we had a visitor one night, and this guy walks in, and he goes, well, I was born in 2004. And I was like, oh, no.
Wait, what? I don't want to be the old guy.
No.
Dude, I do that game all the time with people where they'll be like, hi, I'm so-and-so. I was worshipful master in my lodge in 2004. And I'm like, cool, I was 14. And he goes, go F yourself. You know what I mean? And you're like, yeah, I was a wee lad when you did that. Or some people will be like, I wasn't even born yet. And they go, and you're like, got him.
I had one of my tutors go, I was in high school when you were born. And I was like, oh, Lord.
And you're like, oh, no. Yeah, I do think there is a lot of like mystique and spirituality around motorcycling, but also you are kind of suspending yourself between life and death, which is another aspect, because I don't want to say it's like going under anesthetic, because that's similar experience, that's similar floating between life and death, but you cannot F around, because effing around, the finding out is insane. And so like there is like, I feel like, and this comes from anyone who doesn't ride, but I do ride a bird scooter now and again. So there is a different level of, and a bird scooter being 6% of the intensity of a motorcycle. But even with that 6%, the fact that it's just you, the air, and a car is passing you, and you're like, oh my God, don't kill me. Like it is like you're in the world. You're just out there.
Oh, yeah. And that's like, you really want to see some of the fun and challenging aspects of it. One of the main reasons I go up to Tennessee is they have the Tail of the Dragon there. It's 11 miles, 319 turns.
Yeah.
And you see some of the pictures of the videos of these guys, they're scraping mufflers going around these corners.
Oh, I've seen those videos. They're like leaned almost 90 degrees to the you know, their knee is like 2 inches from the ground cutting the corner because they're going so fast.
Oh, yeah. If I ever get the chance, I'd love to take my bike and do the Pikes Peak Rally in Colorado. That one is a life goal of mine.
What's the deal with the Pikes Peak?
So Pikes Peak is one of the tallest summits in the country, I think. But every year they do a race to the top, and you have to sign a waiver because it's switchbacks all the way up. It's 12,000 feet above sea level, and there are no guardrails.
For listeners who aren't bikey boys, meet them in the middle. What's a switchback?
So a switchback's like a tight turn. So think like a zipper.
Okay.
Where instead of like the hard turn, it's more of a coast, and it just goes back and forth and back and forth.
So you imagine you're kind of zigzagging down the mountain back and forth. So you're not going straight. You're doing almost 180 turns.
Yes.
To go back down. Jeepers.
Mm-hmm. So they race to the top, and there's no speed limit, and they have to sign a waiver to do it. But mainly it's cars. But I haven't looked into it about bikes, but I would love to.
Do they like guard the entrance to make sure too many people aren't going up at the same time for safety? Like, are there waves of people that go up, or is it just free reign?
So for that event, I'm pretty sure it's timed, and it's one after the other. If not, they are timed in between the people that are going up, but there's no one coming down. And to some degree, I wish they would do that on the tail, because there are certain days where you're going there, a car club might go through, and you'll see a car try and drift around one of these corners, and it's only a 2-lane road hugging a mountain and a small guardrail.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it almost feels like it should be, even if it's not time, that you're staggering people, right? You're like, all right, this group of this many safe people, a safe amount of people, you go. Then you wait like 10 minutes and you go. Because even if you go full kilter, knowing that it's these zippers, you only go so fast to make sure that people aren't, either A, bunching up, B, doing something crazy, C, assuming that not every person's going to be racing at the same speed. There might be some old guys who are like, dude, I'm coasting up this bad boy. I don't need you going 110 miles an hour, scraping your muffler on the ground and trying to kill me on your world record run. Because on the Tail of Dragon, I've seen those videos, the GoPros, of people just tearing it up, just going nuts.
Yep, and they have cops scattered throughout the road now. It's a lot better now that they've repaved the road. I've been on it before they did that, where the road was falling apart, and you could feel your tires skip as you're hitting them turns.
Oh, my God. Yeah. I guess the heart racing.
Yeah, but now they have cops that are along the way. I think it's like 35 miles an hour, because it is an active state highway.
Sure. Well, that's just crazy about it. When I was watching these videos, there would just be other cars just like, loo, just kind of driving to work, and you're like, excuse me, sir.
Oh yeah, you'll get trucks go up there, and it's like, come on, man, I want to go faster than this.
Yeah, and he's like, I can't turn that fast. I'm carrying a big load, and you're like, I see it, but I'm scared to pass you because I can't see far.
Get hit.
Yeah, I can't see far enough to pass you. So, in your motorcycle travels, what do you think is outside the cave degree, which I'm sure is going to be really high, if not the top on your list? Have you gone into any other fun locations on your cycling journeys? No, sorry, motorcycling. What do we call it? Cycling's
So,
biking. I don't know.
Yeah, mainly since I've gotten into long distance riding since I've been back to Florida, and I've been kind of trying to push it a little bit, like little areas around the state that are like hidden gems. So like Fernandina Beach is one that I've been to a couple times, which is about 2-3 hours ish, depending on what road you take from Orlando. And it's like the northern part of Florida where it's on the border of Georgia. In September, my group's doing a Keys run. We're going to go down for the week for Key West. And then I'll go to Louisiana and Texas from time to time when I get a free moment. But really, in the coming year, I want to kind of push further, go out to like South Dakota. I'd love to go through West Texas and go to like Roswell.
Yeah, Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Oh, yeah, I'm coming back. It's just a matter of when I can line it up.
South Dakota, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, all the good places.
Well, if I ever go to Sturgis, it's already in my plan that I'm literally going up through Tennessee, up to Milwaukee, and then cutting west directly.
Yeah, that'd be a fun run. I've heard Sturgis is a lot of fun too. So with that, those long butts that you're putting on that bike and all those cool places that you go, the last time I was in, I've never actually been into Heartland, Florida, except for when I was a kid. I went to Disney, right? But I don't remember nothing. The last 3 times I've been to Florida, I've been in the Panhandle. And I don't want to poop on the Panhandle, but I feel like the Panhandle's kind of lame compared to the rest. There's one highway that runs the entire thing, and it goes 20 miles an hour the entire way. So if you're going, hey, I'm going to drive 10 miles down I-10, you go, cool, that's going to be like 2 hours. And you're like, wait, what? And they're like, yeah, it's slow the entire way.
The main highway is I-10 goes all the way out to like New Mexico, but that one's got blocks a lot of the time. But if you don't want to go on I-10, then they have those small, old school highways that have been around since the 20s.
Not I-10. What's the one that's like Route 33 or something? It goes along the entire coast. It goes through like Santa Rosa. It goes through the Truman Show city. What is that? C something, where they filmed Truman Show, and it just drags forever. And I was like, dude, I want to see real Florida, because when I went to Savannah, Georgia, which feels closer to Heartland, Florida than the Panhandle does, where it's steamy, it's southern. The Panhandle's like so many expats from other states that you're like, am I even left? And you're like, nah, this is grandma and grandpa. They're summering here. They're summering from, somewhere in the Midwest. And you're like, oh, cool. They're like, yeah, they're really rich. And you're like, oh, cool.
It's funny. A lot of the snowbirds, as we call them, you'll have a lot of the folks from the Midwest on the west coast of Florida, and then like New York and New Jersey are all on the east coast. But if you go up the dead center, you still have that old world Florida that's still around, like Arcadia and Zellwood, Howie in the Hills, Frostproof, some of these towns that no one has ever heard of. And you can see that type of Florida that's been stuck in history. And that's where I spent a lot of time riding in Old World, Florida.
Are there any cool lodges you have visited in Old World, Florida?
So sad enough, I haven't been to enough of those lodges in the middle, just because when I'm out riding, it's on a weekend.
Sure.
But I've been to some fun lodges. So like Apopka, Florida is home to the oldest working lodge in the state. And it's also a moonlight lodge.
Oh, wild.
So if you look at the city of Apopka's flag, it still has the square and compass on it. And before there was an Apopka, the town was called the Lodge. So the entire town of Apopka was founded around the lodge of Orange Lodge.
It's like the Philippines. Like, wait, what?
Yeah.
So the city was called the Lodge. So one has to assume that like when they had even less people in it, they were like, wait, well, who's here? Well, that's where the lodge is, and that's we all are.
You had people coming from now there's another brother that knows the whole history. He's a past master of Orange, but he tells it quite often. Is Patrick Tessier, if you ever run into him online. I know Matt knows him.
I know I've talked to Patrick. Well, online I've talked to him. Yeah.
So he knows the full history of it, but there were brothers that were traveling from like Sanford and other parts of Florida and the surrounding area, and they would all go, because back then there wasn't roads. It was like wagon trails and stuff like that in Florida.
Oh my God.
And nobody thinks about that. Like, we had cowboys in the state of Florida that nobody even remembers.
I mean, how much cowboying were they doing compared to out west? You don't got big pastures in the middle of Florida.
They ran cattle through the swamps, man.
Oh my God. There's a story there. There's a story there. Yeah.
There's a whole history.
Crazy.
But yeah, and Apopka Lodge is well known for that. And like I said, it's and I, without knowing the full state and city flags, I'm pretty sure it is the only city flag in the state of Florida that has a square and compass on it.
Oh, wild. I'm going to have to find a picture of that, take a look at it after we're done. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, also, moonlight lodges are so cool and so impractical at the same time. They wile me out. The fact they're like, when's lodge? Look at moon. Is full. Lodge time. And you're like, oh, shit. But it makes sense especially back in the day when, like, calendars were only so approximate. And if you didn't keep up with your exes, you may get a little bit drifty, right? I mean, we have a long history as a human people, as humanity, of losing track of our calendars all the time. But the moon doesn't lose track. It's like a clock. And you're like, I'm not going to sit here and I'm not going to write all this stuff down. When that moon's full, when it's getting close to full, I'll start talking to my brothers when I see them in town and be like, what day is it? They're like, full moon's around this day. We'll be doing it then. You're like, all right, I'll be there.
I mean, and then you got like Sanford Lodge is very old lodge, and just some of their members have helped shape the city of Orlando, if not the state itself. And they're doing a cool thing where if you look at the past masters' portraits, they're having QR codes where if you scan it, it shows their whole Masonic history as far as what they've done for the state and the city.
What a good idea.
Yeah.
I love that. Dude,
it's wild.
So, like, I was been finding out, and if I'm being redundant to my listeners, but I haven't been able to tell Tyler about it. So we had a lady reach out from Australia. Some relative had joined Lafayette Lodge, which had merged with Lake. She was trying to find information on him, and I was able to find a death record of the day he died. They did like a service in Lodge, and the secretary just wrote what everybody said about him. And some was good, and some was making fun of him, more or less, which is amazing. But it's that kind of stuff that if you could have that on a QR code, just, hey, man, you want to take a glimpse back in time? Here's what his brother said about him. And they're like, on this guy, it's like, he had a stern disposition, and I will say that if you told him something, he could not be swayed. But I think he was sincere in his own way. And you're like, so they're saying he's a stubborn asshole. And I go, amazing. I love this. It makes you feel like I knew him. Like, I know past masters like that.
Yeah, I mean, there's, I forgot which lodge, and if any of the Florida Masons hear this, I know I'm going to get flack for it when that happens. But the founding mayor of Orlando was a brother.
Yeah.
And that's something that I guarantee you the city doesn't even talk about. Nobody does. It's that history that Masons have that I wish we had out in the community a little more.
Well, and when you look at Milwaukee, 2 of the 3 first founders were Masons. When you look at Walker and Kilbourne, they were Masons. And if you look at like the first handful of mayors, they were Masons. And there's this like pseudo very local history that intertwines, not that them being Masons really mattered, but people who were also Masons had an impact. There's been this cool thing I've been trying to look into in Wisconsin, which is Masons on the Underground Railroad. There's a weird connection that I'm starting to notice, and it's becoming slightly uncanny that certain lodges in certain areas and certain members of these lodges were in certain places when it came to key points in the Underground Railroad. And I go, so there's a story hidden here. And so I was talking with Waukesha Lodge and one of their brothers, and Burlington Lodge, one of their first masters was heavily involved in the Underground Railroad. I'm starting to notice a connection between those 2 lodges where I go, these people were in the same place at the same time in an important historical event. And so you start to notice that you go, there was a date that in Waukesha Lodge where there was a huge historical event. I forget with the person who was being trafficked through the Underground Railroad to get to Canada. It was one of the catalyst events that ended up increasing the tensions that ended up leading to the Civil War. He was at like 2 of those brothers' houses at one point. And on the same day that they went and sprung him from jail, the minutes from the lodge were disturbingly empty of anything. Like every other meeting had like lengthier things. And this one was like the brethren met and they closed the lodge. And I go, interesting timing. So there's like these weird hidden stories within these lodges and the members of them that are hard to find. But there's like these inklings you can find in all these lodges of these men who were, active in their communities and active in the world they were living in. But they didn't always leave a written record, but some of the breadcrumbs are left behind for Masons to find and go, wait, what was this guy? Wait, what was going on here? And you have to put the picture together.
It's that interesting history that our fraternity has been involved in. It's not so much that they were Masons. It was like, look at the caliber of men that were involved and went back and showed that love that they had for the community and expanded on it.
Well, yeah, and it's not like they were, we talk about Masons in the Revolution, all this stuff. It's like they caused it. And I go, well, they weren't doing it as Masons, but as Masons who had connections with other good men who cared about their community and who wanted to make the world a better place, you'd be damn sure that they were talking amongst themselves, even if it maybe wasn't in an open meeting. But they're good men who care about their community. So when they go out to the pub afterwards, they're like, hey guys, something's going on. Like, we need to do something together, like, because
100%.
I have some big concerns. Or, hey, I really need to do something in my community to make a better place. Like, we need to get together and put something like this. So you'll see that people always want to say, well, the fraternity did that. And I go, well, the fraternity was doing what it's always done. Made good men, put them in the same room, inspired them to do good works. But then as just human beings who are able to have connection with other good men, I feel like that's where those types of actions come out of, where they're like, hey, I'm not acting as a Mason right now. I'm acting as a good guy. And I know a couple of good guys I trust quite a bit. And we feel strongly that this is important to us. So we're going to go out and try to do the right thing. And you just see this all over. But those stories are oftentimes lost to time. We don't even have them all the time.
That's why when I hear of a brother that talks about an idea about bringing the history out and kind of showing it when it's been sitting in a dusty cabinet somewhere, I always get behind it 100%. It's like, yeah, man, I want to know.
I've been on this big kick where I need to find the time to go through our archives. We just reorganized them. I don't know if you had a chance, and we probably had to peek into the Lake archives, and they were an absolute mess. We finally reorganized it. I dragged everything out. I threw away all the old receipts, got the minute books demolded, and cleaned up and put in an organization. But when I found that funerary ceremony, so at the time that Lafayette would meet before the funeral, just right before, maybe an hour or two, they would open a lodge, they would do a ceremony and talk about the brother. They would talk about him nicely or air the dirty laundry, whatever brothers wanted to talk about, I guess. And then go to the funeral, do the service, sometimes at that time, pay for the funeral and inter him, depending on who it was. But in those stories that they were doing that funeral service, the fact that the secretaries meticulously took down that information, they're almost transporting us in time so that I can imagine I'm sitting in lodge with a bunch of guys in 1854 who are laughing and probably teasing their stubborn brother and, telling his story, talking about what he did for work, talking about some funny stories or how they thought of him, bemoaning how stubborn he was, but laughing about it. And it almost teleports you. And I'm really want to start digging into our archives to start bringing those stories out and going, these need to be shared so that we can actually interact with that mystic tie, not only now, but through history.
Yep, 100%.
Hell yeah. I want to go find them. But God, those books are dusty, man. They're so dusty.
I've got a habit now of finding older Masonic books and trying to collect them. And sometimes I'm lucky, sometimes I'm not. That's like a couple months ago, I found a bookshop in Orlando that had a first edition 1925 Scottish Rite manual. The thing was massive, and he had restored it, got it from an estate sale, had some water damage, and he wanted like $2,500 for it. Yeah. And he's not in the fraternity. He sells it as like a
commodity.
It's an oddity shop.
Yeah.
So he sells Masonic stuff that he gets for that. And I try and go through and make sure if it's something that shouldn't be there, I try and buy. But I had my eyes on that book for the engravings in it. And then I came back with all the money one day and he's like, man, I just sold it. I was like, no.
God, someone paid $2,500 for that book. It probably was the Scottish Rite. I'd like to believe that they came in like, hold on. I know, dude. The actual crazy amount of Scottish Rite books that end up in like bookstores. I was at Half Price Books the other day and they had like some sort of old Milwaukee Scottish Rite something. I saw it and it was in the glass cabinet. Not the normal one, the glass cabinet. It was like $700. And I was like, so I reach out to the Scottish Rite boys and I go, hey, is this important? And he goes, we got 10 of those. And I go, oh, so valuable to them, but not to you. All right, thank God. Because I was if this is the only copy, you boys should go out there and make sure that don't run off.
Well, it's like I find monitors in like different books we all get. So yeah. So I found a West Virginia monitor from, God, I think it was 1910. It was leather bound, and I picked that up for like $60. And I was like, but still. And funny enough, when I got to Winter Park for the first time, they had an old Wisconsin monitor. It was black with leather, it's black leather. It folds, and it's got a gold leaf on it.
So I make a similar habit at half-price books. I can't afford every Masonic book that shows up in there, and some of them are the ones you see, so they don't matter. But I'll always buy a monitor if I see one, and they're always like $4, and I'll just grab it. This one's just from 1963 that I'm holding that I found. I did get my hands on from a brother from Venezuela. He gave me as a gift his Venezuelan monitor, which is kind of cool. And they don't, in Venezuela, a single letter cipher it, so it's only ciphered in Spanish, which has proven difficult enough. I was like, wait, hold on. My Spanish is okay, but it's not that good. So I've been perusing it, and it's different, so that's fun. And so yeah, I like to collect monitors too. And honestly, some of them I just want to get them off the shelves, or I'm like, this isn't really general consumption, and they're cool, and I'll put them in my library if I don't keep them.
Well, it's like I go on eBay and look at old Masonic stuff, and I know I talked to you a little bit about Grotto, but like I've had a hard time trying to find Grotto merch.
Yeah.
And I ended up finding a company that had gotten their hands on a bunch of antique Grotto spoons.
Yeah.
And they turned them into rings. So now I have a pinky ring that is sterling silver spoon from like the 20s, and it's got a Grotto logo on it.
Perfect. Did you listen to when we were at Cogman and we talked to Mr. International Grotto from Wahoo Grotto in whatever state? Texas? I think Texas. Don't remember.
I don't remember if I did or not.
He was a very fun man, and he was very into the Grotto, and he was in their like their version of the clown unit. So he was Cogman blowing up balloon animals the whole time, and wahooing around because it's Wahoo Grotto number whatever. I forget the number. Super nice dude, very good ambassador for the Grotto. Where he's like I'm fun, I'm silly, but I want to get back, and you're like, beautiful.
Oh yeah, that's the thing that really I enjoy about Masonry. Aside from the fellowship and the brotherhood, man, it's the charitable aspect of it. I mean, I'm part of Ormaz Grotto in Orlando, and they do the special needs dental work.
Yep.
So I think year to date we did like 87 kids in the Orlando area that needed help, that we've helped with their dental need.
I know. I was talking to that brother about how dentistry is like this forgotten problem. No one wants to take it seriously. And sometimes it can be medically serious too, but we pretend it's only cosmetic. But we also undervalue how horrible it is to not be able to smile. Like, imagine if you could never smile because you're always self-conscious about smiling. The only expression, the most pure expression of joy as a human you can have is smiling. But if your teeth are destroyed, sometimes not even from bad care, sometimes just genetics just go rip, and they just throw you a curveball, and you don't have the money because it's expensive, and you can't finance it. You have to pay in advance for dentistry. You can't even enjoy the joy of a smile. That is a important charitable activity because it is significantly more impactful than insurance would like to give it credit, in my opinion.
Well, and that's like you go to the dentist and they have to, put you under or do the Novocaine and stuff like that. Everybody's nervous. I don't care who you are. If someone's coming after you with a needle to your mouth, you're going to be sweating bullets.
Or drill.
But, but if you don't know what's going on, you can't comprehend what's going on. Do you expect they're going to sit still?
No.
Exactly.
Special needs is twice as hard. And at the same time, all because of special needs doesn't mean that you don't care about enjoying smiling and not having painful mouth.
Or, like, for instance, they have something down here called Paisley, Florida. And there's a group that just formed out of it called Paisley Hope, which is what puts it on. But it was through Bahia Shrine there for a while. It's one of the lowest income areas in the state of Florida. And I'm actually on the news from last year because they interviewed me about it while we were giving rides for kids on the bikes. But we helped give like 400 or 500 kids Christmas, like toys, dinner, shoes. You could see some of the kids that had gotten shoes from the year before that walked up, took them off, threw them in the dumpster, and put their new shoes on for the year.
Amazing. It's those type of things that I think is always interesting, that before people join Masonry, they wouldn't expect they'd find themselves giving in that sort of way too. And I feel like there's a transformative element of participating in that level of service. And also a shocking realization, because you might never go into a community like that and then see and go, man, these kids needed Christmas bad. And you're like, and being able to help. It's crazy. It's inspiring.
It's wild. It's my favorite catchphrase.
Awesome. Cool. Well, we're hitting about the hour mark, and so usually I try to save our listeners before we go down any more rabbit holes than we could. So, Brother Tyler, thank you so much for coming on. It's been a pleasure as always. I can't wait for you to get on a motorcycle and get your iron ass up to Milwaukee to come visit your mother lodge, your what do we call it? Birth mother lodge. Because you've been hanging out at your, I don't know, stepmother? No, it's more than that. Your second mom lodge, and come pay us a visit. We'd love to see you. But yeah, thanks for coming on the podcast.
Anytime. I might be heading up to Illinois in September sometime for work. And if I can take a day and extend my trip, I might be able to make it up.
Cool. Or let us know if we can meet you halfway somewhere. Maybe we can grab lunch or something.
Yeah, sounds like a plan.
Heck yeah. Well, thanks for coming on. Awesome. And to our listeners, social media, you can follow us on stuff. Where social media is consumed, you can probably find us. If you would like to join us while I'm editing a podcast, I edit live on the Discord channel with whoever wants to hang out with me on Fellowship Unplugged. I'll be doing that in T-minus 3 minutes from this podcast, and you can always find that on Discord. The link is in the show notes. And other than that, thanks for tuning in, and take care.